Alright, we are recording, and as it says on the screen right now, this is the part 2 of the graphics quality analysis for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is looking specifically at DXR and DLSS, which are two features that are, well, DXR is generic, it is part of DirectX 12 now, but currently is only NVIDIA that has it supported in drivers. Theoretically, AMD could support it, but they haven't yet. Hopefully they will at some point. And DLSS is straight up an NVIDIA technology, so it's only on NVIDIA GPU. Well, only on NVIDIA RTX GPU. Now, DXR, though, I can turn on the game there. DXR is, as it's, well, it says on the other page. Right here. DXR can be accelerated by NVIDIA RTX, and right now I am running the GeForce RTX 2060 in the test system that I have, and so that means that we do have the acceleration there. I do also have an already collected data for the GeForce GTX 1070 and GeForce GTX 1080, because DirectX Ray Tracing, it's just part of DirectX 12. All it takes is a flag in the drivers. It's more complicated than that, but it takes, flipping a switch to say that yes, you can use the compute capabilities of the GPU to do the ray tracing. But because they lack any special hardware acceleration like the RT cores in the GeForce RTX cards, it doesn't run as fast, and my data backs that up. Although I don't have the data for the 1070 and 1080 pulled up at the moment, I do have it for the 2060 because that's what I'm running on. I have not yet collected the data for the 2080 yet. I will just a little bit later. Basically, after collecting the 2060 data, I got started on. Alright, and for anyone wondering, I do also intend to look at DLSS, which is deep learning supersampling, is what it's called. It's, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. Personally, I consider it image enhancement. Some would say that it's an anti-aliasing technique. I don't consider it that. I think of it more as image enhancement because what it will do is it will... Oh, don't want to forget. And I think I did forget to say it earlier. The key for Shadow of the Tomb Raider was provided for me for the initial review, and that would also cover what I'm doing right now. Also, the GeForce RTX 2060 that I'm currently running on, the 2080 that I will be running on later, the 1070 and 1080 that I ran on before that I have the data for, along with the GTX 980 that does not have support for DXR. All of those have been provided to me by NVIDIA over the years. The key was provided by Square Enix, though, just to be clear on that. But DLSS is, to me, it is an image enhancer because what it does is it will have the game run internally at a lower resolution, and then it is upscaled with DLSS in doing its best to make it look better, to upscale more intelligently than other systems. Which is, it is a clever idea. So far, I've not been particularly impressed by it. I have a preference for crispness in my images, and DLSS does have a tendency to soften details. Hey, if you're comfortable with that, then you can get some extra performance out of it, because the game is internally running a little bit slower, a little bit smaller, it's easier to do. However, one thing I do want to point out, and this is why it is the RTX 2060 I'm running right now, is that it can run DLSS at 1920 by 1080. The 2080 will not. NVIDIA, and it makes complete sense, NVIDIA will not allow the 2080 to run DLSS at 1920 by 1080, because at that resolution, it would actually slow things down. DLSS is... I'm not actually sure if it is fixed function, but it is... there's a fixed amount of time that will be spent doing it. The 2080 is so powerful, according to NVIDIA, and I have no reason to disagree with this. It is a very powerful card. That in 1920 by 1080, the speed up it may get by running at a lower internal resolution isn't enough to overcome the added time it takes to do the DLSS. So it actually works out against you. You lose performance instead of gain it. Whereas the 2060, being a less powerful card, still pretty powerful. I've when I tested it in Metro Exodus with the ray tracing on, I was very impressed, actually. I was not expecting it to do as well as it did for me. So yeah, it is a pretty good card. But it is still less powerful enough that they will allow 1920 by 1080 to have DLSS. Okay, right now I have it off. We'll look at it later. That's not my main focus right here, because I'm pretty sure I did say it a little bit ago. I haven't been too impressed by it. I'm not collecting data on it. I have been watching, because you do see up there the Steam FPS counter, and I have looked at that, and I don't see a large enough change to me to make me think DLSS is worth it, but we can worry about that later. The main focus for this is the ray traced shadow quality, which I'll go through what all it says on the right there in a little bit. I just want to quickly cover. This is the high preset. This is what I'm working from, and this is also where I am collecting the data from. But it is worth noting this. When you enable the ray traced shadow quality, it will automatically, well, it locks out shadow quality, which makes sense, because of just that it would lock that out so you don't get things conflicting potentially. And also, at least the medium enables DXR shadows for selected point lights only. There's still other shadows that need to be rendered. Those would be controlled by the shadow quality, and it looks like what it does is it locks it at ultra. So when I hit this up to medium, you will see shadow quality is grayed out and it is locked to ultra, is what it shows. Even if it is initially at, say, off, which is a hideous thing. Do not play this game with shadows off, please. But here, let me just put that back up to ultra. And so we are in here because there's no sun here. They are all point light sources. Okay, no, I take it back. That would be the sun. Most of the places I've been collecting data are outside, so I needed somewhere that would have point light sources like this. And I've already looked to see what happens when you turn on the ray tracing. And oh yeah, you see a difference. You see a difference. And because of how this game works, you will actually see it behind the menu. I love that. That is so helpful. I'm sorry, it just really is. Boom, look at that. Off and on. It is very, very thoroughly different here. And let me just say that between off and medium, I couldn't spot significant differences when I was outside. I could when going up to high. We're not going to see that here right now, but and I will show you some issues with high, but yeah, just that is significant. And also, oh, by the way, I do have VSync on currently, so performance isn't actually something we're going to know right here. I have the VSync on because I don't want screen tearing during the video, that's all. But I do have the data, so actually here, let me start talking about that. This is not one of the places I collected any data for. Collected it in the Hidden City, Kawakyaku, and Plane Wreckage, all of which I will visit later in this video. At medium, the average FPS I had was 83. Then 72 in Kawakyaku, the 83 was in the Hidden City, and then 70 in Plane Wreckage. So actually pretty good, you know, even at medium it was bumping it up to over 60, and here, you know, it is locked at 60, so it is in fact potentially going over here. I can quickly turn off VSync so you can see where it would be. 78 it says. So, I mean, true, not really moving, 77, but it's still, that's, and we are in a kind of a closed off area, but it's not a horrible hit that medium is causing here. I'd have to, yeah, actually I can, just a second, be in here. I'm just looking at the averages, so without DXR. This is data from a while ago with different drivers, however. I didn't recollect the non-DXR data. So the Hidden City, which when I collected it earlier today, in fact, the average was 83, as I said before, without, at the same settings, except shadows were at normal because that's what the high preset is. Before was 88.74, and to cover more decimals. It was 83.39 that I got earlier today with DXR. So not too bad, about 5 FPS. If you're concerned about the frame time, it looks like about 0.7 milliseconds, so not too big a hit there. Kyokaku was 87.35 before. With this, it was 72, so that is much more significant. From 11.45 to 13.85 or 86. So yeah, that's a bit more significant. And plane wreckage was 88.56 before, and it's 70.51. So we're looking at 11.29 milliseconds to 14.18 milliseconds. So for those two, the hit is actually a bit heavier, which makes some sense actually. The hidden city, that's basically all just sunlight, which for... Oh wait, no. What am I I'm confusing things a little bit. Because that is the data... No, I'm looking at medium, sorry. The high data is where we have the sun covered. Let me quickly grab that. It's in multiple windows. But it's still, just going to medium on that, the hit is not so bad. It doesn't seem to be so bad. So I could understand someone deciding, hey, I'm going to have on the ray trace shadow quality turned on for the 2060. The 1070 and 1080, not quite as good, didn't fare quite as well, which isn't too surprising. But here, let me also quickly look and go through what the high values were. So for the high, meaning ray traced at high, the hidden city was 54.6 frames per second, so that's 18.3132 milliseconds versus 11.27 milliseconds in the 88.74 I mentioned earlier. Kwakyaku 48.45 versus 87.35, and 48.34 for the plane wreckage versus 88.56. Yeah, there it's a lot more significant, and I'll show you later that I'm actually not impressed by high or ultra for a very specific reason, and I will show and explain that later. But right now, let's just focus on what it is doing here, which is, I mean, this is a significant change. You look at that, and now you've got this ambient light coming off of that, hitting right here. Although I do find it interesting, it looked before... Oh, that's not what... Huh. Sorry, it looked before like the shadow right there wasn't there. At a different angle. But it's still, I mean, that is very different. And it does also look pretty good. I'm not even spotting any noise in these shadows either. Now, true, some of these shadows might not necessarily be ray traced, but it's still... This actually does look very good. I do have to... You have to give props to that. That this is very, very nice. In here, let's see what happens, because that should be sun. Let's see what it looks like. I'm not noticing any change right there. I'm noticing a change on her. Between those. But here, let's keep it at medium. So that didn't seem to change too much there. Okay, this is the way out, and I do want to go out. But yeah, so this is, for location, probably like, you know, best case scenario, to a certain extent. You know, let me also... Huh. So no change there. Let me turn. I just want to get another look here in parts so I can get a screenshot. What? I don't always plan these things out the best. I don't script this stuff. I guess is the better way to put it. Alright. Let's head back out. And I may need to change what she's wearing. Just... I have a preference for a different outfit for her, largely because it's what I've been using throughout all the testing. So, just a variable control, basically. Alright, so, you know what? This should be the sun, which means then that if we go and do that, we do see a change, see? Change in actually many places. But between off and medium, I can't spot anything. The campfire, I have spotted a small difference in there, small enough that I actually already have it in my notes, that based just on where I am, which is largely outside for the testing, medium isn't worth it. Inside, though, we clearly saw there, it makes a very significant difference. Now, going from medium to high, which that performance hit is pretty big, and I will show you why I actually don't like high or ultra. I'll show you that later. But we still do see shadows becoming... Shadows becoming softer. Right here, potentially more accurate. I don't actually know what the geometry is in those locations, but here, that actually looks like it is becoming more accurate by going to high. This stuff, maybe? That seems more like it's just the shadows are shifting angle. So like the shadows in this were just calculated with slightly wrong angles, but over here we see a change. Here, let's actually back up. Although, actually, let me do this. I want my screenshots. There. Alright, so that is a shadow cast by that rock face. And you can see all that actually does change. And pardon me just a moment, I'm getting a drink of water. You know what, to be honest? I want to get back to that being on high. You know how I said about the shadows down here that looked like it was... the angles were different? That's what it looks like here as well. Like that shadow's being cast that way because the sun is just in a different place. Huh. Oh, there it is. I was trying to figure out, where is the sun? It's right above our head now. There we go. Now it's above our head. That makes me wonder if that could actually be like a small button. Because it doesn't make sense that, come on, mind. Turn over. Work. It doesn't make sense that the shadows would be that significantly different, noticeably different there. Being more accurate, yes. Being softer at the edges, because the correct amount of diffusion is being applied there, yes. But looking like the light source has shifted, that makes me wonder a little bit more. Excuse me. Right, so I just want to change her outfit. Here no, that one. No. Be helpful if that's it. Which... there. It's the one I consistently have been using for the testing, so just control that variable. Alright. We are at high, and you can still see that, yeah, there's a change. In fact, I kind of like this, the amount of change there. Just because there you can really tell how the shadows become somewhat softer, which would make sense for the diffusion. The equivalent effect that you would see without ray tracing would be something like NVIDIA's percentage closer soft shadows, PCSS, or AMD's contact hardening shadows. I don't remember many games that have them. GTA 5 actually has both as options, and I know Thief was actually where AMD introduced its CHS, its contact hardening shadows. And I don't actually feel like going through the entire... well, I know, I can run it. Normally I don't. So the path I take for the benchmarking... Wow, that was... Well, yeah, I mean, it's the performance at high is kind of an issue. But it's, to be honest, I mean, is high more accurate? Very possibly. I'm not sure how many people are going to complain about medium, though. I'll just have it at that for now. And this is the path that I run for it, and it takes about 5 minutes. Actually, a little bit less. In which case, then I run around near that starting area, because it is actually a circuit. I try to have all 3 of the paths I take be circuit. And sometimes I will also, like, if I need wood, I will like grab it there. I don't need it currently, but you know, it helps with adding time. Normally I do it walking, not running. So it's just, I don't want to actually spend 5 minutes doing this again. Now remember, this is at medium, so the rays from the sun are not ray trace. That is conventional, traditional lighting. It would be other point light sources, but as you may notice, we're not really coming across any. Actually, there may be some right here, because we have at least that fire. Let's see. Nope. In fact, none of the settings seems to make a difference with that fire. So it looks like that is one point light source that was not among the selected. But then given that it is completely in sunlight, it would make sense. The fire shouldn't really have that big an impact on the lighting. This one. So let's see if this made the cut. Nope. It still does make some sense. It is somewhat obscured, but we still are largely in sunlight, so... I think that's just normal level detail stuff. Like if I pop the settings up to their highest, that might not have... But I'm not doing that. I'm running it at high because that is where I collected today. And no, I did not take that detour. Normally I would just, just trying to get back to you. Normally I would, after coming down here, continue this way, or sometimes I went down this way because I forgot that I was not supposed to, and would then just jump up. There we go. But then continue up this way. Down here. Through here. Now this is actually another spot that you should see a decent difference. Yeah, look at that. That's very different. Just from that. And you can also see how the diffusion of them is different. So on the ground, they're a lot softer. But on her, it is much more clearly defined, which is real. That is what it would be in reality. Interesting. The shadow on her face is different. I am not going to remember if some of these are, just so you know, I'm not going to remember if some of them were taken at medium or high, unless I just stop to think about the fact that it's it's sunlight. Yeah, so actually, yeah, let's quickly go through it. So select point lights only for medium. High has it additional spots and directional lights, but also the sun. Replacing traditional shadow maps. Need to get a drink of water. That is something that is kind of crucial. And I will show that later in Kwakyaku specifically, because that's where I got the best example of the issue that I have with high and with ultra. Then as ultra states, it improves on high by adding translucent shadows and additional rays for a higher quality result at a significant performance cost. Let me actually quickly... Yeah, it's present. Some more so than others. Looking at the high to ultra data. I'll cover that in a little bit. I want to first get to Kwakyaku. But, yeah, so that actually does... I am curious why her face is changed so much. I mean, it might just be the idea that her face being light-colored is, reflecting enough light to defeat the shadow. But anyway, let's get back on this path. I then go through here, and there's a specific reason why I would go through here, in case you were wondering. Because there's enough people here that would actually, I would very often see performance drop due to CPU limitation. Like, hey, this is the 2700X. It's a pretty powerful CPU. It truly is, but it's still a lot of AI that has to be managed. Depending on how that's written, it can bog down a CPU, even a powerful one, and the 1950X in the desktop. So yeah, I would come up here then, keep going up, and right here, by the way, I don't have the course graphs, but you would see in the course graphs that it would suddenly, even on high, performance is up to around 60 in this spot, 16.7 milliseconds. That looks so good. Yeah, we're in shadow. It's not having to draw any rays to figure it out. Okay, let's see if this is one of the selected. Nope. But it's not having to draw rays from the sun, so it doesn't, the ray tracing isn't really present, even on high and ultra, so it doesn't slow things down. And yes, I would actually always grab these. Jump. Have to jump. You cannot skip the jump. If you skip the jump, you have to, the whole thing's invalid. That's a joke. Yes, I do always try to jump. I need to do something to entertain myself. It takes a while to do this, and you have to do it a lot. Go through here. I don't like being slowed down by fluids, so I will try to jump through them. This way. I'll be back to the fire pit, so I will try to show you the small difference between off and medium for the rays with that. Now here I go through corn, and the reason why I specifically go through the corn is technically that's a little bit of physics, that they are being pushed to the side, so it's like, okay, let's try to get that in there. It's not going to be much, but it's something. Up like this. Around the tree. To back where I was, and then typically I would try to end facing this way. Sometimes I can't. But if there was like, oh, there's still time to go, then I may like run around right here. I stay in this area. Sometimes I would even come down and run through these. But yeah, so that's that path that I would normally take, but walking, not running. You know, it's funny, I haven't actually reviewed the other video for this. It's possible I already went through all these, but that's fine. Going through it again isn't a bad thing. Alright. Yep. You can see right there is a spot that changes very slightly. Very slightly. In fact, so slightly, I would not be surprised if you don't even make it out because of the chroma subsampling that YouTube will do. Of course, now that I think about it, I don't even know if I'm recording it at full chroma, because I'm not sure if the capture card is able to capture 444. I just don't remember. I can quickly check. Yep, it's set to NV12, so it's possible I'm actually not even going to be able to see that. But it's there. But yeah, it is still very small though, and that's basically what I was seeing for medium and off when outside, is something small. But it's still, performance-wise, it actually wasn't that big a hit, and having seen the impact it made when inside, I'd be comfortable saying that, yeah, if you have even the 2060, yes, it does get a performance hit from medium, with DXR medium, and it is noticeable. It's also, you know, it's still capable of 60 plus, and this is, to me, a game that doesn't demand 60 plus. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, if you want to turn on DXR with the 2060, I think you can, but I wouldn't go past medium, and I will show you why very shortly. I may actually show you DLSS first here, because it's a sooner spot here that I do want to... And the path, I always start and stop the campfire. Start here, and go this way. Some of you may recognize this if you saw my series statistics and the aliasing adventure article, because this is where I took those screenshots. Right there, above her head, that's the piece of metal that sometimes seem to change. Alright, but the main thing I want you to look at are the railings back there and that sign. It's when I turn on DLSS, that sign looks softer, like that Y to the right of her head, that definitely looks softer to me than it did before. Okay, it still looks pretty good. But also, look at those railings. See what happened? You can see, when moving, that there is some aliasing present with them. Now, to be fair, it is also there, even with SMA T2X. Because that would be a form of temporal aliasing, and that's supposed to have temporal super samples there to help with it, but it still happened. It may just be worse if I turn that off. But you have this funny thing for me. Well, we all have this funny thing. I have this funny thing that I still prefer SMA T2X to DLSS here, because while DLSS it looked a little bit better, the aliasing wasn't so present there. It was also just softer there to my eyes. And I would rather it there, because it's aliased either way, it's just, it might look a little bit better because it's, you know, there's less aliasing because it's softer looking. That to me isn't worth it. That's not a positive trade-off for me. And I also looked in the Hidden City, and there was a spot where it's like suddenly there was detail on a tree. Now, true, how much are you really going to notice detail on a tree? I will grant. You're not really going to notice the loss of that, but it still is. Like, seeing that sign is now softer, that stuff is softer. 1920 by 1080, it isn't worth it to me. Now, also to be fair, I'm looking at currently, this is plugged into my television, a 32-inch TV, which I'm about 4 feet away from. Which, 32 inches, yeah, the softness is probably going to stand up more than if you had a 1440p screen, especially if it was like 27 inches, or even a 4K screen. Might not jump out as much, that's softer. I don't know. I can't talk about that stuff because I don't have those screens. So, yeah, if you do, then you can know. If you don't, if you have a 1080 screen like me, then this is actually somewhat important to you. And hey, if you're okay with it being softer and getting some more performance out of it, okay. I also just don't think the performance increase was that much. Was worth it. Especially when you consider the 2060 is plenty capable of playing this game at its highest settings. At 1920 by 1080, I don't know why you turn on DLSS. Unless you gotta have that ray tracing. But, you know, at higher ultra, but let me show you what the issue is that I have with that. It's gonna keep following this path. It's a little bit of ways in that is the best example of, well, best example I've seen for why, yeah, I wouldn't want to use high or ultra, because there is a trade-off with going to those, and it's because of the replacing the shadow map. I'm pretty sure that replacing the traditional shadow map, which medium doesn't do. So it's not that medium is better, it's that medium doesn't do the one thing that I think is causing the issue. But it is for me a trade-off that I would not make. So okay, come around like this. I like Kwakyaku because it's got a nice variety. You got both a city spot, you got this outdoor spot where there's also animals to kill. And I will do that to help simulate some gameplay and also to just help eat up time. We're almost there. Not sure why it just started there. There are some spots that just happened. So okay, look at this. See how it's nice and dark there? Pigdom. There. So see, like that. That is what I would do, because it's clearly there. I would actually hunt and kill it because I want to simulate some element of gameplay. Alright, so this is with medium. Oh. Hi. Now it's lit up. In fact, it's not always lit up. Come on. Why is this feeling that different? The distance has changed on me. There. See how... Is that draw distance there? There we go. There it is. Because I would come like this. That is a problem to me. And there's other spots as well, where you can see the shadows. Hang on, need to drink water again. Feels like I'm getting dust on the back of my throat, and it's very uncomfortable and makes me want to cough. But that is a trade-off that I am not willing to make personally. Because I will notice that, I mean, and look at that. That shouldn't be happening. That's not how optics work. I mean, that actually looks like a screen space issue. But this is ray tracing. We're not supposed to have screen space issues with ray tracing. So yeah, and that is present on both high and ultra. Just to prove it. Now, is this necessarily common to that degree? I don't think so. Yeah, still happen. But you can see shadows coming into existence. There is a draw distance for them. If you look forward, you should find a forward. We should see it happening. I'm trying to watch, but there's a fair amount on the screen to pay attention to. And it's also this performance hit too. I mean, it really is, to me, not worth it for a high. Because I would rather, I mean, hey, at medium it still looks pretty good. Yeah, you can see how the shadows are changing there. Just as we get closer. I mean, true, that wasn't so bad. Okay, this has happened repeatedly. That stutter there, I do not know why. But it has happened repeatedly and consistently. It's just something that happens. Right, and I do actually normally do a circuit around this way twice as part of the benchmark. But yeah, the point... This is actually how I have it written in my notes. I just remember it well enough. It would say that I would rather have complete... Damn it, I would rather have the complete shadows of either medium or DXR off, no ray trace shadows. I would rather have that and know that they might be less than accurate than to have the more accurate shadows, but I also, have incomplete shadows, because that right there, very convenient timing, it is not something I would accept. Not when I know there's a simple option to turn off, and now it's better. Like, I would not accept. I'm just curious if it changes anything back there. No, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, and right there you can also see the tree right above her head. Right now, the shadows change there as well. And that distance does look kinda similar with some of this distance. But yeah, it's... maybe maybe right here it looks better, but from back there it doesn't. And one thing also that I'm kind of curious about, so right here we can see that the sun is apparently filtering through and doing that. But here it isn't. I don't know why. I really don't know why that would be the case. Because when this lighting is figured out, why would it be so different? Why, what is the change here that ray tracing is enabling that when it was initially computed, that you can, when you bake a level, when you cook a level, although those are terms that apply to like Unreal Engine, and I actually don't remember what the name of the engine is. And I should remember. But anyway, you can have the lighting already computed when you're compiling the game or compiling just the level. And in some cases, the lighting is actually, like the shadows are just baked into the texture. That would only work when something is fixed. But it makes you wonder, why was that process resulting in something so different for there compared to the ray tracing, when you could actually have it done using ray? Because when you're pre-computing it, it can take as long as you want. It's offline. It's not being done live. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I mean, it's inconvenient if it takes a long time, but you can do it. There should actually be a little bit of change here. Maybe just up here. Yeah, so see, and this is... they're becoming softer, so they should be more accurate, but to be honest, between the performance hit, draw distance thing, I'm perfectly happy with this. I don't think that looks bad. Could it be more accurate? Okay. But it's also, for me, I know I'm playing a video game. Let's... I'm just curious if we're gonna catch shadows changing. And there definitely was some flickering there. A different distance. I mean,
are you interested in trading?
Yeah. So continuing the path. Sometimes I'd go on this side. A few times I went over here. Same difference. Around this way. Go back to running. Sometimes there's a box of salvage here, and I would stop and grab that, but otherwise I would just keep going. Come up this way. Run around to here to help eat up time. Also, there can be stuff here, like here's some wood. And then come back over campfire. If there's still time, I may just run around it, run back over here, go down this way a bit. Come back, but that is what the run is that I would. So okay, that covers the ray tracing and also the DLSS, and let's actually try to... Sorry, hang on. See, I told you, I've been trying to hold back coughing for a while. That's why I was getting the drink water, but I couldn't stop it right there. If we turn that back on, I mean, you should also be able to notice, it may not be too easy, but her outfit, because of the feathers, there's actually a lot of fine detail there, and it's gone. With DLSS, it does soften. It also, by the way, is being softened by the SMAA. That is something that I discovered and wasn't too happy. Sorry, too happy to see when I was doing the anti-aliasing stuff. I mean, here you can see a lot of speckling because of, you know, it is technically aliasing. It is an aliasing artifact. But yeah, there is details on like the edges of the feathers and such that are gone. And if we... I have been intentionally keeping, because I just basically rule that anti-aliasing at a SMA T2X is, it looks good. It's not, you do lose some detail, but it still looks pretty good. It runs well. You know, it gets the job done. It does have some softening, but arguably, since when you turn on DLSS, it forces off anti-aliasing, maybe that should be the comparison. But it is, you know, between off and DLSS, that softening is really a pain. And also the fact that it's like right there, we see that there isn't necessarily the full image stability. Yeah. Oh, one other thing I do feel like quickly mentioning. DXR, well, I said it before, that DXR is DirectX 12. I've been collecting all of that data with DirectX 12. I do also have DirectX 11 data, but it isn't, I can't use that and the DXR stuff. So if anyone was wondering, those are mutually exclusive, DirectX 11 and DXR. Now, one thing I'm a little curious, because I just don't remember. We do see, actually, the shadows change a little bit back there. Also a little bit changes in shadows. I mean, often and high at least. Alright. Alright. So let's get on to the last place, which is again outside, so I can try to go to another interior place to finish this off, because it does seem like that's going to be the best place to really see some of the significant impacts of the ray tracing. Getting more water wildlands. Oh, and also I think I said that I would share the ultra numbers. So between DXR High and Ultra for the Hidden City, the average FPS for the Hidden City at High was 54.59. With Ultra, it was 45.48. So a change of about 3 milliseconds. Actually, about 3.5 milliseconds. That's pretty big. For High to Ultra for Kwakyaku, that's the place we just were. It was 48.45 with High, then 43.6 for Ultra. In frame time, that is 20.64 for High, 22.93 for Ultra. So we're looking at about 2 milliseconds difference there. And I do want to mention it in milliseconds because that tells you how much more time the GPU took to render the scene. I'm just going to... Then High to Ultra for this location, Plane Wreckage, it was 48.34. At High with Ultra, it is 36.57. So that is an average frame time of 20.69 to 27.34, 7 milliseconds added. That's huge. And also, might be worth pointing out, one of the reasons why you see a push for using frame time instead of FPS for a lot of reviewers, because frame rate, sorry, FPS is non-linear. If you actually plot it out, it has a curve to it. It has a very significant curve, and it's basically right at around 60 FPS. So, yeah, kind of a problem there. Whereas frame time is going to be more linear. It's a direct measurement for the work the GPU is doing, sort of. There's still some issues with frame time. Mainly something like sort of last mile kind of stuff, which you can kind of see in, and I actually do want to redo some of it, the old RX Vega efficiency, Arcspace for efficiency article I did a while ago. In that, like, if you have a GPU that can run a game and it can stretch and get to 100 FPS, that's good, and that sounds like, hey, that's really good, it's performing so well. If you bring it down to even like just 90 FPS, if you limit it to that, suddenly the GPU may be able to run a lot cooler and use significantly less power, because getting that last bit, which 100 FPS is 10 milliseconds, 90 FPS would be around 11 milliseconds. A 1 millisecond difference, getting that last millisecond though, can be very difficult. So frame time does also have certain issues to it like that, because you're getting to the point where everything is in play, I guess is a way to put it. So one part of the GPU internally could be holding up another part, and it becomes kind of messy. So I mean, unfortunately, the optimal way I can think of would be to lock the frame rate down, and you see, okay, how much power is it drawing, what is the clock speed that's using, you look at all these other variables that do also directly concern performance. You'd need to do something like that, but then it's information overload, and no one's going to understand what the hell you're talking about. Personally, I like giving you FPS and frame time, because FPS, that's easy to read. That unit makes perfect and direct sense. Milliseconds, not so much, because that's not how we think of things. But anyway, let's go through this path. So I come down this way. Oh. Yes, I would stop and grab the salvage. Sometimes I would just turn here and go up. Sometimes, this is actually the hardest run, to be honest, because it is so short. I need to almost always figure out how to spend an extra 40 seconds. Sometimes I would also come up here, though, to help eat out time. And come down here. If that tapir is there, I would kill it. Just like I did. Sometimes I'd kill a bird or two. Okay, there's very often a bug right there. Come down this way. Run up over here. This mail's... Sorry. Yeah, please excuse my call. Let me actually turn... Oh, that's one. This may also be a good spot for the distance. There we go. To see the level of detail, the draw distance for the shadows going to play. And I don't think anyone should be upset that, oh, the draw distance, why isn't it longer? It's like, ray tracing is still hard. It really is. And yes, I would try to run around that tree. Yeah, it really is still a difficult thing to do. So, yes, there are going to be limitations on it. Now, as the technology develops, and we start seeing... Sorry, I'm distracted because I'm talking instead of doing that stuff like killing them. Where did it go? This actually does happen. I do lose track of where the thing is that I kill. No. What is... I keep forgetting what the thing is for the vision. Q. Somebody's saying this. There it is. I can't. I'm full up on the leather and oil, but if I could get the arrow back, it would let me. Yeah, then I'd come down here with this one. What's it that I was trying to say? Oh yeah, that yeah, the ray tracing. It's going to get better with time. I would then come down here, jump into the water, or just run into it. Like, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, how the ray tracing is, because realistically, and boy, are we seeing shadows change at a distance. Now, some of that might also just be that the higher quality geometry is loading, but some of it is also that the shadows have drops. Plus here it isn't so bad. It's not in the sunlight. Yeah, it's like once AMD also starts having a solution which might be a different approach, we may see that will be more development of it. NVIDIA having second generation RT cores, that's gonna change things. Whatever Intel decides to do may be very interesting as well. And I actually saw something suggesting that Intel may have hardware ray tracing acceleration. I would at least like walk that and come back up. For the server GPUs that they're making, they will also make consumer ones, but we don't know if those will have the hardware acceleration. And even on servers, that is actually going to be valuable to have that acceleration, because like for rendering a movie, where yes, you would use ray tracing and path tracing, that will have an impact. That could really speed things up, which would be very helpful. Or for figuring out the lighting in a game when you're cooking it, when you're compiling it, so that you don't have to have stuff rendered live. You can be already done, pre-computed. Having it on a server GPU would be helpful. But it's both both AMD and Intel might use different strategies than NVIDIA for the acceleration. But yeah, I would come around this way then for the run. Depending on the time, and if I'm thinking of it, I may turn up there. If not, I may come around here to feed into the 5-minute time. Come this way. And then try to be here. I might run around back here. It depends on how much time is left, because sometimes it's a lot. There's not always that many animals to hunt. And hunting them really does help eat into the time. But if there's none, then it becomes a problem. So sometimes I would come down here, but I'd still try to be in this area when it finishes. So let's just see. So, yeah, there's a difference. Couldn't tell you between high and ultra. Medium to high, there's a difference. Is it worth it? Is it worth, in this area, 7 milliseconds? Oh wait, no, that's high to ultra. Here, let me see medium to high. Let me pull that up. For this area, it's 6 milliseconds. Because medium was 70.51 FPS on average. High, for this area, 48.34 FPS. So that's 14.18 milliseconds to 20.69 milliseconds. It's like, that's significant. But still, 48 is, for this game, not bad, actually. My rule of thumb is third-person games, you can get away with it going down to 45 FPS. Not always going to be the case, but rule of thumb. First-person games, typically you do want those at 60, depending. If it's a shooter, like Metro Exodus, yeah, you probably want to keep that up around 60. Though even that dropping down into the 50s wasn't too bad. So yeah, my feeling though, with the RTX 2060 and that draw distance thing that I spotted, I think I'd rather keep it. If I must have ray tracing on, I'd keep it at medium. I wouldn't go up to high. Or I just wouldn't bother with it and enjoy the even higher performance. Alright, now let's see about another location. I don't know if this will, because the area that was used in the demos, and you can see it in actually the in-game benchmark, I think is right here, but I don't know if I can get there from here. I might not be able to. I think this is sealed off, because it's part of the opening area. This is cool. Why am I not seeing it? What I'm looking for are the little markers, sorry, the markers for the tomb. Not sure why they're not showing up. B. No. Not. Those actually might. Let's have a look. Even though I'm not going to collect the data, still might be worth seeing what the impact is visually when inside. Yeah, it does look like interiors do benefit from the ray tracing. So let's actually do that now. Is it different and noticeable? Yeah. Is it necessary? I don't know. Just want to see if I can get rid of that icon. Here. Screenshot that. There's actually the ossuary, I'm pretty sure it's the name for it. That's a location that should also be pretty good, because it's like completely lit by one campfire or two. I can also visit that in a little bit. Yeah, let's leave it on medium for now. I do think it's a little interesting. It did not appear. Going up there, it's gonna be sunlight. Don't want to do that anywhere. Try looking here. Okay, so yeah, this appears to actually be tomb. I do seem to remember complaining in the review that why can't you turn that light on manually? Because I do actually want that light on. Because I'm curious. Because it's a directional light. Can that be... Come on, turn it on. Come on. Why won't you turn it on? Oh, alright. Let's go. See, there they are. Those are what I was hoping. But yeah, the ossuary may actually be a good spot. At the same time, it's a spot you can expect to spend time in, so they may have been sure that the lighting is accurate without any ray tracing. I'm gonna pass it out, so I'll be ending here. Oh, and good. So we wait. Nope, this is not what I think. But that's fine, because I also have that thing now. I guess it makes sense that the flashlight is going to be accurate. What? Oh, I'm thinking too far back, aren't I? That's right. I always get turned around. That's right. I always have it flipped in my mind, west and east for Hidden City. I always do. I always make that mistake with this location. And I also don't remember the name of it correctly. That's Skull Cave. I remember it's something a little different, a little bit unexpected, so ossuary made some sense to me when I saw that name earlier. Alright, here we go. Here we go. See, I mean, these are all like point light sources. This is perfect, right? Let's see. No apparent difference there. And not here either. But that actually does make sense. It really does. Because the way you can figure out the light by pre-computing it can get you very near ray tracing. Because you can have basically all the math for ray tracing done beforehand and then just have that pre-baked in there so that the game engine is able to go, oh, hey, I need this information. It's like, here you go. and it can end up being accurate. That's probably the situation. And I say probably as somebody who doesn't fully know what I'm talking about, but it makes sense. That's just here, they did the engine, when was compiling, did figure this out well enough that, yeah, you're not going to spot that. Although you do see it right there underneath the camp. Actually, that's Brazier. You see some change. It's also on her hand. So some things are different. But it's still medium. Yes, it makes an impact. Is it positive? In some places, yes. In that temple that we started this video in, that was very much a positive impact. But let's say you're not running an RTX card, or that can accelerate it, because the 1070 and 1080, sorry, they were handling it fairly well, but not at 60 FPS. You need that 60 FPS, and you don't have an RTX card. I don't think you're gonna miss out too much if you leave ray tracing off. Yeah, that is my feeling. And it is nice to have, but I wouldn't go up to higher ultra, and that's purely because of that draw distance thing that I was seeing. And that one spot is just especially bad. Other locations, probably not so bad. But it's just, I see that, and to me that feeds into the equation of, is this worth it to me? Would I turn it on? And it is, even if it is the one spot, it's still, because it's not like I need it, or I don't have shadows. Like, I need to have the ray tracing on and don't have shadows. It's no, I still have shadows, and they still look pretty good. This is theoretically better, but it has that flaw there. I'd rather be without that flaw there and know that the shadows are more complete, even if they are less accurate. For me, that's worth it. But part of the reason I made this video is so that, I'm just going to reset my position, is so that you can watch it and decide for yourself if you either have the game but haven't really messed around with this stuff yet, or if you don't have the game and are thinking about getting it, and it's like, oh, how big an impact does ray tracing have on it? Yeah, unfortunately this is months late, but as I think I said earlier, I technically started this video before and realized I made a mistake and needed to restart it. I've just had other things coming up, and the performance analyses are not top priority for me, so it ended up being constantly delayed. Sorry about that. And I actually have one more that I need to do that, I already have the data for it, but I need to actually get to work on it. I need to finish getting the data for this one, for this game specifically, the RTX 2080. Alright, so I always do the hidden city first, so let's get out of this. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. That's what I meant. Back to that. Alright, I guess one last round of pointing out that the key was provided for Shadow of the Tomb Raider by Square Enix, so I could initially review it and do stuff like this with it. The GeForce RTX 2060 I've been doing this on was provided by NVIDIA, as was the GeForce RTX 2080 that I will be collecting data on next. The GTX 1070 and 1080 that would not use for this video, but I do have DXR data for them. Those two were provided by NVIDIA just long ago, and for the larger performance analysis, the GTX 980, along with all the cards I had mentioned already, all were provided by NVIDIA so that I could do stuff like that. And just over the course of years. It's not like they gave them to me recently, except for the RTX 2060 and 2080. Alright. That should cover it all, I think. I don't think I'm missing anything. Hope not. But, yeah, so hopefully, I mean, true, you're not even going to see this video until the article's out, so it's pointless saying hopefully that'll be out soon. It's like I'm traveling through time. What does it matter? It doesn't work that way. Alright. I guess the one last thing is just, I am still not impressed by DLSS as a option, as a setting. The technology, I will admit, I do find that very interesting. I do think that that's pretty cool as a concept. I'm just not convinced on it yet. I'm not sold on it yet that it's worth turning on. But it's also, I'm running at 1920 by 1080 on the test system. On the desktop, it's 2048 by 1152. Basically, 1920 by 1080 plus. At 1440, it might it might be more worth it. At 4K, it might be more worth it. But at 1080, the 2060 is more than enough performance. It is very much not the situation where you need DLSS for most cases. So it's like, I should be fair to DLSS in that way. If this were higher resolution, that softness that it causes might not be so noticeable, might not be an issue at all. That is not what I have to test with, though, so I cannot say anything one way or the other about that, other than just its acknowledgement. It could be a different situation there. But for right now, I'm not too impressed by it. In theory, though, NVIDIA's made this point. Over time, it can get better. Because it's a neural network system that it's being trained, and it can be trained repeatedly to get better at it. And also, who knows? Just like how I was saying earlier, we'll probably see second-generation RT cores. We may see second-generation tensor cores or second-generation DLSS that does an even better job. That's just future stuff, though, but wait and see. I think it's reasonable to believe that that may be coming. Also, at some point, I doubt that they would enable this for the 2060 necessarily, though. We may get DLSS 2X enabled, which that is the mode where it does not reduce the internal resolution. It runs it at the native resolution and applies the DLSS stuff on top, the image enhancement on top. That might be awesome. It might be. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. But it was something announced, so hopefully it's coming. Hopefully it is coming. Well, that pretty much covers this. And thank you very much for your time.